All right, what's up, everyone? I'm back with Mr. DigitalT, and now we're gonna get into the advanced guide for Ninja Gaiden Black speedrun for the more advanced player. So what we're gonna use is we're gonna use pretty much my last PB, and then I'm gonna go into with digital on places where I made mistake or where I could have saved time, and I'm gonna try to explain the strat as much as I can. So let's get into it. All right. So beginning of the game itself, fairly standard movement. I mean, that is something again you practice, you get used to it, and then you do the amount of jump that you want, I guess, to reach that area. That's entirely up to you. The places where I think we're gonna start instantly with the advanced strat, and it might seem dumb, but it's gonna be at breaking the torch by doing the running attack with X, and then if you time it right after, you can pretty much don't hold the block for X amount of time, but then as soon as you hold it after, you can roll. It's hard to explain, but if you hold the block too fast after doing that running attack with X, Ryu is just gonna stand there blocking. It's not gonna do the running animation, and then after you're gonna have to remove manually, if that makes sense. So, well, make sure that you practice that, but it's tricky to explain. And after that here, same thing that we did last time. It's gonna be trying to get as much kill as we can. Of course, we didn't really explain the jump in the different direction in this one, where you roll in one direction and you jump into another one. But that is a technique that we're gonna use a lot along the way. All right. And it is wait, did I forget to mention something? Maybe when we drop also the forward X when we drop from the trapdoor, a little hard to explain too. When you land, it can basically make the animation of Ryu not fall from great height if you want. Like
Yeah, you don't have a hard landing animation anymore, so it helps save a couple frames.
it's a little bit faster, nothing too crazy. So for that next fight, we had used the charge at the beginning. The strategy that I'm going to use here, it's kind of risky too, in the sense that Ryu can sometimes target really weird objects. So you run on the wall, you hit, and then you cancel. You hit with a regular hit, you cancel with the shuriken, and then you don't do what I did there when I land. You don't do forward or Y. You just want to do a regular ET, and then what that will do is that will usually make it a lot faster to clear this room, especially if you get initial kill for the essence.
Yeah, that was good for him.
So it's gonna be the forward X into Y compared to the last time where we were just doing the classic XY. Both are valid though. I think. Look, you said use one here. It depends how comfortable you are with the camera to shift. So there's certain time where if you're not too sure that you can do the windmill slash, because the forward squirt is that you can do it perfectly in the right direction, it's better to go with the XY, because that automatically targets the direction of the enemy compared to the forward X that you have to kind of input the direction properly for it to work. So as soon as this chapter start, I jumped in, I guess maybe 5 o'clock angle towards the door. I opened the door instantly, and then we're doing some quick wall running. It might seem weird, but there's literally a succession of jump that you can count in that chapter when you get used to it. So I I do it like subconsciously because I'm used to it. But for instance, I always do the same amount of jump and roll jump from the door after Mirai. It's always the same thing. So once you get a feel for it, you will pretty much always do the same sequence, and then it's just gonna become force of habit pretty much.
Yep.
So last time we did not explain the hugging of the fence here because they're magnetic trees that attract you. So
Yeah.
what I like to do is I hug the right fence here a little bit, and then at the specific spot where I did, you do a roll jump, and then after you just basically keep running. That will prevent you from jumping in every single one of those trees when you get into that area. I almost got the boost here, by the way. Yeah, which would have
Yeah.
boosted me on the top. I didn't get it. That's kind of RNG though. I wouldn't even say it's an advanced strat because it's something that can happen just randomly, depending on the timing of the mage there.
Yep.
This one we're gonna be skipping the shop animation that I let play last time. So if you roll and then hit the button to attack right away, it's gonna skip the animation of seeing, the little text that explain what is Muramasa's shop,
Mm-hmm.
and it saves a good bit of time because last time I did it, it's been so long that I've seen that, but I think you lose something like 10 seconds at watching that text and then going in the shop after and all of that. So this one is the same strat, but then the previous one, even if I did the same thing, Digital explained the safer strat if you want to go for the archer at first. It's more consistent. The one I'm doing here is a little bit faster, I think, but it's riskier that the spear horseman decides to just dodge you. And same with the second set of horsemen. If you cast too quick, that's when I noticed, by the way, that Ryu Potato and doesn't name the Inferno at both of those. Yeah, at both of those samurai. That's pretty much what happened. Masakado, I mean, same strat as we did last time. You want to try to keep the mage on the other side by keeping them in your camera like this. As soon as the camera shift and you shift towards the opposite side of the bridge, that's pretty much when the mage will start teleporting towards you. And also, though, this one is really about how much he blocks. So if he wants to block all your arrow, he will, and there's not much you can do but restart. So
Yep. Yeah. Mouse Kato's like that.
it's pure RNG. It's not like someone would say, "Oh, I have a specific advanced strat against him," where that specific strat make him that he doesn't block any single arrow. We have not seen that strat yet. If someone has it, feel free to share with us.
Yes, please.
Chapter 3 now. Beginning is gonna be exactly as it was on the previous guide. But now what's going to change is, I guess, a little bit how you do the next fight and explanation. So what you want to always do on the next one is you want to preferably kill the white tax soldier as fast as possible, and then it really depends though. If he gives you a blue essence, you're kind of fucked. You need to wait for him to get back up. But if he gives you a yellow, like happened here, you can do that. And that fight did not go according to plan because usually Digital know you're supposed to kill the third guy there with the combo. He did not die, and then I end up having 2 essence here for the next fight, and it's not very ideal. So we'll see how this fight go. But usually you're supposed to have 1 essence so you can UT those 2 guys in the back. And there I got like super unlucky where
Yeah.
he instantly goes into a grab, and then the other one stays idle at the end, unfortunately. So here, even if, I mean, this was my last PB, I lost about 8 second easy because you can finish. I finished with, there was 6 second on the clock, and you can finish with 14 second left if everything goes according to plan, which it didn't in this case, and it happened. And that's why also this game is so hard for that, because you have to improvise on the spot when things don't go according to plan, and that's how you tend to lose time in the run because of that. So now we left the essence on top, same as last time. This fight, to gain the time limit, you need to do exactly what happened in here. But one one thing that is important to know is you kind of have to gauge on where the guy appeared. And here he kind of faked me out, and I'm not getting the time limit just because of that. Because I thought he would appear behind me, and you see, he did not. And then I did not get the time limit in that fight. And you kind of have to adapt on where they're gonna spawn from, because they can spawn from either windows, and same goes at the end, where sometimes the guy will, the last dude will come out from the same window as the previous one, and sometimes he will go to the opposite window, and that's up to you on the moment, on the spot, to gauge, where you have to go to kill them, pretty much. I'm doing some wind path to clear in between because it jumps straight, so I don't have to input any direction. This fight is the same as last time. It's a pretty standard fight. I don't know why I stopped turning the crank for a second. You notice that? I stopped turning it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it's always the same thing. The only thing I would say here is that be careful if you release too quick for the third guy. Sometimes Ryu will target the box, and well, yeah, that will take longer, I guess, to clear the fight. So here we do 5 turn. Last time we went full turn just to make sure. But if you do 5 turn and then you position yourself like this and jump straight, usually Ryu will go there. If you run too much, you will fall off the ship. As Digital says, when you do 5 crank turn, well, him grabbing the wire can be a little wonky. So I would say be careful for that. Maybe the first few times, make a save before if you want to practice it to make sure that you got the hang of it. Because if you're in an actual run and you fall down, it's dead instantly, and then you of course have to restart from the beginning. Menu wise, I never do it here, but people, you can menu here preemptively if you want, instead of me doing it a little bit later. That's, I guess, personal preferences, and you'll see what I equip. But now we're gonna get into the on-landing jump a little more in this one, because it's the advanced one. Is that on a lot of places like this where you're going upstairs, actually, where the elevation is a little bit higher, it's gonna be better to do what is called on landing jump, where you leave your joystick neutral. It's gonna make you go faster to the top. And here I will do it again. So I roll jump on landing, go with a smoke bomb, and then we go roll jump near the fence to get up that area.
Yep. Yeah. So it's mostly used for elevation, and then things like ghost fish, or just like a different. If you're, not a roll jump distance away from a door or something, you could just, end it with an on landing and then
On landing
door.
jump. Yep. Because sometimes, as Digital say, if you're too close to the door and you go with two roll jump, you might walking against the door, and then that makes you lose a little bit of time too. So Dynamo. Now we're gonna explain the strat with the smoke bomb cancel. The smoke bomb cancel here is to make sure you don't get grabbed. So it works as a roll, and because the roll obviously as iframe, up to a certain point when you do it. Um, if you do it right, here I tried to get him out of the dome. It didn't work. I almost wish I could have shown it in the video, but you can get him out of the dome. It really depends though on what move he's doing, and there he did the wrong move. And technically that was not a good Dynamo fight overall. As soon I think as he does a dome and you can get him out of it, you're inevitably gonna lose time, I think.
Yeah, that was one strat that TGD did. Another strat you can do is if you're on top of him, like he was with meleeing with the lunar, you can
Inferno.
swap Inferno him. Yep, and then it'll just get him out of it right away if you're inside of his bubble as he's starting it.
Yeah, it's a valid strat. The only reason why I stopped doing that strat that I explained is that you lose a shit ton of damage after from the damage over time from Fire Wheel. So as much as I hate seeing him going into bubble, depend on the amount of health that he has, I prefer to just keep Fire Wheel and go at it again. But I would say that if you did a good chunk of damage initially though to him, and he does, go for a dome at the end, then it's definitely extremely useful to go with the Inferno because you don't have to worry about losing all that damage after from the other fire wheel.
Yep.
So this chapter is, well, it's fairly standard. We explained a little bit on the beginner's guide. You're gonna kind of use the line before the door, I guess, here to jump properly. You equip Inferno, of course. And then when you jump here, the door animation will go. You recenter your camera, XY against the wall, another XY. Then I roll a little bit in angle here, and that's just to push them closer to the door so that I can get their essence and then land right in front of the door. But if for example you shoot it straight from the point where you are, they're not gonna get pushed here. They're gonna be well a little closer to the wall, where you push the other one. Get this, then instantly use it. When I land here, so what you can do is if you hold forward and press Y, like I did, you will do this. And if you just don't hold anything or just time yourself on landing ET animation, that's just gonna prevent Ryu from having the fall animation, which, as Digital mentioned earlier, can save a couple of frames.
Yeah, but that's only on Lunar, just FYI. It doesn't go hand in hand with the other weapons.
So yeah, with the Dragon Sword, you will get something different. Depending if you do with you can do the forward X though too with the Dragon Sword, but you will not have it equipped there usually in this
Yep.
chapter. So it's pretty much always gonna be the Lunar. Depending on how many smoke bomb that you have here, I guess you can always use one extra to well, to get to the shop, and one of the guy totally ignored it actually because he passed in front of it. As soon as I enter here, I like to mash square and X to get as soon as the menu, and then as soon as I see I get into the menu, I press the trigger and then buy it. And then when you buy it, you can also just mash your left trigger and you back down on your joystick, and if you're lucky you can pretty much get the roll that I got once you get out of Muramasa, and that saves you like a fraction of second from having to run to the door yourself, and it's not huge, but I mean it's part of the advanced strat, so we're explaining it, of course. So overall, that's a fairly good chapter, I would say. Something between 3 minute 2 IGT to 3 minute 6 IGT is a very solid chapter 4. I think my best of all time is maybe a 3 and a 3-1. But I think you rarely get those. It really depends on if your movement is really on point, how much you cut corner, how much you mash when you're opening door too. Everything comes into play.
Yeah, that's what's nice about chapter 4 is it's so consistent.
Yeah, it is. So now here I'll use what digital says. So I jump, roll jump, then on landing jump for this last one because I know if I do another roll jump, I end up too close to the door, so I would wall cling in the door compared to this one I straight up ended in front of the door. So we're gonna explain this trick here that I did not do last time, and I don't even know if I get it in this run because it's kind of RNG, depend on where the Black Spider Ninja are positioned. So here, when I get up, I like to use a smoke bomb in that area. Not necessary if you have extra though. It's always nice because these guys don't bother you. So now, when you get the key and you come down here, if they're close enough to the back here of that area, and then you throw a smoke bomb, usually, like I didn't even do it here actually because I got stick. So if you throw your smoke bomb right, I just went straight up for the despawn here. But if you throw it right and you're fast enough with your movement, you can pretty much reach that area here, open the door, and then activate the lever or the lever, however you say it, so that, well, the ninjas will not have time to get here and you don't have to despawn them. In that case, it's kind of unfortunate because it's my PB and I get it a lot more than I don't, but I actually got stick by an incendiary shuriken, and I knew it would throw off my timing for the drop of the smoke bomb after, so I did not even try to go for it.
Yeah, and the timing is opening the gate, and then you also have to have enough time to actually hit the lever,
Yeah,
because you can get the gate and not the lever
yeah,
depending on where the ninja are.
yeah, pretty much. And it's okay to what you can do is you can match the joystick and the X when you open the door towards the direction of where the lever is. So this way, you have a higher chance, I guess, to activate it. If you see the prompt, you will have better chance of activated versus to if you don't do it really fast or you're not really mashing. Might takes a fraction of a second before you get out of it and then you can get it. So last time we went with the Lunar for that fight, but here, as you can see, I went with the ET from the Dragon Sword. There's risk though doing that, in the sense that the risk is if I get a blue essence instead of a yellow, it's gonna take a little longer because of the animation. But in that case, you saw the version where I get two yellow, so it's a little bit faster, I guess, to clear them. Same strat here as the last time. We're gonna go in Inferno. I think I got a better version now of the Dino here because of that. Because the other one actually hit my Inferno. You saw it. He ran into it. That doesn't always happen. So that's pretty much the ideal type of Dino that you can get.
Yeah.
But it's not really something that I would say it's consistent. The second Dino hitting running into the Inferno at the beginning is really random. So now here what I do is that just before I know that I'm gonna take out the tentacle, I go for fire wheel just before, and then if you're lucky here, I think I almost got the one cycle, but I choked. I totally choked it. That was on me. If you hit one specific spot in his back, when when you cast fire wheel, and it's a spot that's a little higher than the far end of his back, if that makes sense. And if you hit that for a fraction of a second after you remove one of his tentacle, there's a chance that he does what happened there, but he stays stunned the entire time. And if you're lucky enough, you can one cycle him. It's extremely rare, but it does happen. If not, I would have went for the charge version with the ET in the middle, which I could not show in this one. But yeah, these are the two strat that can happen.
Yeah, and I don't remember if we showed it in the basic one, but when he did the fly and swallow, he did shuriken Y into the tentacles just to get a little more damage while he's in the air.
Yeah, yeah, actually good mention. Yes, did mention it in the previous one, but we didn't say it in that one. So now this time it's gonna be pretty much the the same strategy here as we did last time with the fire wheel. You're gonna go with the air destruction slash, um, and then after that, I would say don't move when you do it. Simply watch where the second monk is gonna spawn first. If he spawns really close, good. But see if he spawns a little bit further, you want to make sure that you clear him out as fast as possible, because if not, he can go flying around and be a little bit of a dick. So if you
I,
see he goes underground, yeah, that was a pretty nice fight actually. You see he goes underground like this, don't panic. Don't try to preemptively charge. Just wait for him to get out, and then do your move after, or do a counter attack or anything. But I think the more that you try to grow those guys, and I think Digital will agree with me, the more evasive they're gonna be sometimes. So it's not always good to be extremely aggro against those guys, I think.
yep, no, I agree.
So now this chapter, the two most important room, I would say, because they're all important. I mean, the archive was important and all of that, but the most important room in this chapter is this one and the zombie room. We're gonna talk about it when we get there, but these are the room with the highest amount of RNG. And I always do the same thing at the beginning, which is wall run, bird flip, and throw two incendiary shuriken. But if the monk die, it's totally random. So here you see he did not die, and then after I had to kill him. So you gotta check your kill count, I think, to know exactly, who died, who is still alive, and all of this, because it's gonna definitely affect the outcome of the fight. And something that I just started doing recently, and I'm saying it as a tip for everyone, is that make sure that you use, as much incendiary shuriken, well, that you have, because you're gonna refill right after. So there's no point in not using all your incendiary shuriken if you want to, you know. And here I couldn't really show it because it happened behind the scene, but it's pretty simple. If you manage to grab the statue as I did there before the monk disappear, you're gonna be able to move during the cutscene of the fight ending. And to get to the door is really, really simple. Okay, is that when you grab the statue, you're just gonna be holding your joystick straight forward. Okay, so like 12 o'clock. And then you're just gonna keep pressing jump. That's it. Nothing else. There's no special angle to get. So just hold your joystick forward. You keep pressing jump, and then when the scene end from the door opening or unlocking, you should be close to that door. Nothing special there. Now here doing the same technique that we talked multiple time with the on landing jump. Now look, what I'm gonna say, and I think Digital will agree, is that if you really want to know more about on landing jump, you should definitely watch JTB's movement tutorial, because he will go into everything that is related to movement that we will not be able to cover in a guide like this where we talk about the run going on specifically.
Yep.
So just make sure you go watch watch that video if you want to know everything movement related in this game. So
Yeah, and just a small note, he does on landings until those pillars are falling, and then he passes the first one because you can just have Ryu's head bonk into it, and
yeah,
then once you pass that, then you can on landing again.
yeah. And what Digital didn't say is that if you get knocked down by that pillar, Ryu will take a power nap on the ground.
Yeah.
he just gets stunned. I don't know why, but the stun is massive from the pillar. So if you get hit by those, you probably lose an easy, I would say, 6 second. If it's not more than that, because you literally will stay down for too long, too long.
Yeah.
Here, if you can get some extra UT, it's always nice. Not absolutely necessary, but that makes it, if you want, easier to get the 5,000 that you need to upgrade the Dragon Sword. And this is something, by the way, that you can come up short depending on the type of fight that you get in that chapter. So just be really aware of that, and also keep track of your essence overall.
Yep.
So you're recentering the camera. As soon as you get in, you're gonna roll dodge to the first one like this, and then you're gonna wait to see the movement of the other. When you see they're going towards you, cast your Nimpo. Then I like to throw two incendiary shuriken, but that's absolutely preferences. Entirely up to
Man, you
you.
got reds.
Yeah, and we got reds. That was really lucky too. If you get extra red, I don't know if I'm gonna use it in the next zombie fight. I don't remember. As soon as you start that fight, you stick the archer with an incendiary shuriken. Try to dispatch him as soon as possible. Now, I like to do the ET here, but that's preferences, because when I do the ET, sometimes I get the triple kill right after, and it's really nice. But I've seen a lot of people just wait for the blue essence. It's entirely up to you. I'm used to doing, the ET, because I feel like if you do it the double at the beginning, you always get the triple, and it's a nice little extra. But it really depends on the positioning of the zombie. And that room is entirely random. It can be one of the worst or one of the best room, depend on the type of spawn that you get. And here actually is a really good example of a really good room, I think.
Yeah, and for the UT, you can use your left thumbstick to kind of encourage Ryu to pick a direction on the second half of the UT. It's not like super consistent or controllable, but it does kind of help with a little direction if he's just going to keep going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, well spotted too. Yeah, that's true. So I use the essence. Try to kill two there if you can, if possible. If you don't, not the end of the world. The timing is usually around 112, 111, where you're gonna cast the Inferno. Now it really depends, because sometimes the first guy will be on the literal opposite side of where the one hitting the button is spawning, and if that happened, you might not kill the second guy with your Inferno. So if that happened, make sure you just kill him as fast as possible after, because he's gonna be the reason why the buttons stay down. So you gotta clear the zombie that's hitting the button as fast as possible. So here, a little shortcut that I like to use against that wall, which is with Incendiary Shuriken cancel. So jump bird flip into BY. It saves a little bit of time, not too much, but if you fall down, technically you don't save any time from that. So it's a nice little extra, but if you fall down from those archer, it's done. So even if I went fast here, I'm going to try to go into explanation real quick, is I like to put them in my camera as fast as possible to make them shoot me before I reach on the platform. Because if you turn the camera too close to where, like, if you want, they are, when you get close to them, there's a really high chance that they're going to shoot right away, and that's when you fall down. So if you put them in your camera a little bit faster, you have a way higher chance, if you want, of them shooting earlier and making you able to basically reach the top of that platform as fast as possible and not have to worry about them knocking you down, because it's a huge time loss when you get knocked down here.
Yeah, so you're gonna go into the combo you're using here.
Yeah, so I started with the XXY. I do double XXY, and then the third one XYY, and there on the back leg, when the tail is really close to hitting you on the first pass, if you have extra nimpo, you can actually use it, and it will pretty much always land on the foot. So after the back leg will have more health, so the combo is going to be the same but a little longer. Usually I'm going to do probably like 3 or 4 times this and then go with the XYY to finish it. Here, that's kind of a bad fight, I think, because he went like for a triple tail swipe or something. So that's kind of unfortunate. But overall, that chapter was really good. I think a 926 for what we've seen there, and it could have been a little bit faster than that, you know.
Yep. But that's a long. I mean, that's a long chapter, so it can range depending on the RNG you get.
Yep. So the best chapter I've ever got here is a 9.5 IGT, and I never got like real close to that ever again. So my best, I think, is 9.5, 9.14, then 9.18, then in the 9.20s after. And I did, when I rewatch it, I did see also that I could have even went faster in my 9.5 because I actually killed the bats here on coming back up, because I got hit from the bats down there. And I have to actually heal up, so I could have technically did probably like a 9 even IGT or something like that if everything went perfectly. Here, very important to make sure you have the money for the dragon sword. If you don't, you're kind of in deep shit, especially for an advanced run like this. Is pretty much going to be a restart instantly unless you're massively ahead. But yeah, if not, it's pretty much restart. So here we're using the shuriken into Elm Splitter. Same trick as the other time, but now I'm going to show the red room with the middle path. Uh, you technically always need, I think, 6 incendiary shuriken for the best result. Still doable with 4, but it's gonna be a lot trickier, and you'll see why. The thing is, with 4, why it's doable is you can still stun the too far back, but you're gonna have to hurry up a lot faster on the spike to reach them, because they're not gonna be stunned indefinitely. So if you don't have the right amount of shuriken, they can just shoot you off the platform, and then if you're out of them, you can go up with the shuriken, but it's not everyone that find it as easy. So you jump middle, double shuriken here, get on the platform, Azure Dragon if you didn't die. Then you go static jump and shuriken both of these guys, and as you progress on the platform, you can throw an extra one if you have them. But that's really time, in a way that I wait a fraction of a second to re-jump after I get hit by the spike. And getting hit by the spike here is really done on purpose, simply because it's going to slow you down enough so that you don't get hit by the well by the spike balls, I guess,
Yeah.
that are on top. So it might look easy, but this kind of takes practice. And I'm not even gonna lie, when I watch this run right now from an outside perspective, I still think I could do that room maybe a little bit faster with a different timing, because there's some time I wait, because of force of habit, that they're on one side, but technically I could reach one of the sides sometimes a little bit faster. So it's something that could technically potentially be improved in the future. You're right, kind of get trolled, but it's always the same thing. Once you get the gleaming blade, you go into it. It's possible. It's possible if you cast Fire Will at the right time, to go for one cycle also here. But it really depends. Here I also got my charge with did not hit anything. Best case scenario is you'll hit one of the tentacle, and if you hit one of the tentacle with the ET, it's an instant delimb. Uh, but yeah, in that case, it did not work, so I could not really show it, and we're definitely not gonna show it later on chapter 15, because I never used the charge when we get to the second Hydrocubus. But you get the concept of using the charge there in the middle, and then if you release it at the right time, you will take them out. Even if you're lucky, you can get both of them. It's just that happen a lot less frequently, I think. So for going down here, it might have been subtle. I like to use on landing jump. It seems that it triggers them shooting faster, and after, well, you have less chance, I think, of getting hit. You can still get hit though. It's kind of RNG when you're going down that corridor, but I think you have a lot higher chance of getting hit if you go into roll jumping the entire time, because they're kind of waiting for you to press a button to hit, and usually that's the block one. As soon as you let go of it, they go for their shot. That's how they're designed. So next area, so there was a strat that I was using for a certain time that I stopped using. I don't know if you've seen it. Is the one where you start charging at the beginning. The one where you start charging at the beginning, you just go straight for an ET. Can be really good, but if they're not close to the spawn. So if you're lucky and you charge at the beginning, you can pretty much get like a triple kill. It happened to me once where I literally hit all of them with the ET, but it's just something that doesn't happen too much. So what you want to do is you want to do like I did there. You go for a gleaming blade to the one that's, well, closest to your location, and then after this you kind of dispatch the other guy on depend on how they move. It's RNG. Yeah, start the fight, Elm Splitter, and then we're going into the Infernal Loop. Sometimes she'll get out of it. I assume because it was my last PB and it's improved on world record that I got a good one here. I think because that's kind of a main part of the run. If you don't get a good Alma, I'm also doing a menu and equipping the bow preemptively for the next chapter, because that basically would cost a menu in chapter 8. If you will say got a good Alma and you don't have to menu, that was a really good Alma,
Yeah.
and you don't have to menu, you're gonna lose time in the next chapter, and it's something like about, I would say, 8 to 10 second time loss. So it's always better, I think, to do the menu in here in that chapter. So there's also, I know, the fire will strat, but I personally don't like it, and I think it's an extra menu to have to re-equip Inferno, because you need it at the beginning of chapter 8 and all of that. So not a
Yeah.
huge I'm not a huge fan of the fire will. While it can do massive damage, it's I don't think it's a strat for me.
Yeah. I don't think it's consistent yet either. We haven't ironed it out.
So this fight here, you're gonna go towards them, but not too much. So if you go too much to the right, they're gonna move differently. You move too much to the left, they're gonna move differently. You kind of want to be exactly where I am there, so this way you get a triple, and then those guys all land at the same time. Then you release the gleaming blade, grab the 2 essence there. If you think you're starving for money, though, you can wait for the third one. I just never do it because it's a little bit of a waste of time. But if you don't get the right movement at the beginning, you get, if you want, a different kind of fight where they will not spawn all at the same time, so you will end up losing time anyway. This is another one of those chapter. I don't know if you agreed that most of the time it's a little bit similar to chapter 4 in a way that once you get used to it, it is fairly standard. I say fairly standard, maybe a little more RNG than chapter 4, considering some of the soldier can be dick and hit you. Then you have the chopper, that can be a little bit annoying if you don't time yourself right, I guess. But overall, it is fairly standard chapter, I would say.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the only things are just like you said is that the soldiers can tank an extra arrow shot, and then just making sure you hit the helicopter. But everything else, yeah, is pretty much movement based or setting up for that first fight.
So as you say here, sometimes they take two, sometimes they take four. Check your kill count. If you're not sure, you can shoot an extra one. It doesn't really hurt. Here, to get the chopper like this, you kind of have to shoot like really fast and tilt your camera up. If you're not that fast, you will probably have the time to do the whole turn and then you can finish it to the other side. It's not too bad, I think. You don't lose that much time, but you will lose a little bit of time. Now here I like to position myself to that very specific spot that I was in here, and then I'm gonna just try to do some shot to see roughly where I am, and when I'm satisfied with the place where I shoot, I will, well, pretty much just wait for him to spawn. And then if you do it right, you're going to get 2 arrow kill there. Because the second one is going to make him bounce against that tiny part of the wall that you guys don't see from down here. But if not, make sure you check your kill count. If you don't hear the, ooh, I never threw my smoke bomb, by the way, here. That was actually a huge mistake. I should have thrown my smoke bomb before. So don't do what I did there. If you don't hear the sound of the soldier dying, make sure you stay in position and hit him with a third arrow, and then that will do the trick. But yeah, as soon as you enter the room like I did, you threw the smoke bomb. I fucked it up there, and you see I got stuck by the door. It was a bad example on. It was a good example on what not to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good prep, bad execution.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have to say it, It's not because it's that run that we don't mention the mistake. I mean, it's pretty much, I think there's always going to be mistake done in a run for a game like this. I really doubt we'll ever get the perfect run. One can dream though, but yeah, I really doubt we'll ever see that. So 334, it's not bad. I'm losing a little bit of time because I remember I think in my last one it was something like a 331 or something even like a 330. It was really good. But if you do between, I would say 332 and 340, it's usually pretty solid chapter overall. But those kind of 10-second will be a difference on the chopper. As Digital said, the amount of arrow that it takes to take down the gunner, same as the amount of arrow that it takes to take down the rocket guy in the window on top. It really depends. So those guys here can sometimes take three. Most of the time they take two, and they're good. But check your kill count because they can be dick and decide to survive from shooting 2 arrow. So just be ready for that. So now last time I think we explained the shortcut. I'm gonna re-explain it for the advanced. So the only thing kind of that makes the huge impact here, well, there's two things that makes an impact on how, if you want, reliable that shortcut is how much you delay your X. So if you delay your X, well, too early, you're gonna come up too short. Too late, you're gonna have the distance, but you're gonna be too low. So delaying the X just the right amount of time is the key. Really, it's really important. And also letting the animation of the shuriken play out. And I'm not talking about the full animation of the shuriken, just the little part of it. So if you delay your X perfectly, but then you press BY too fast, okay, so that you cancel the B move into the Y too quick, you will also come up short. So it's really important that when you understand how to delay your X, that you let the initial part, I guess, of the animation of the shuriken play out, so that when you cancel into the Elm Splitter after, that you will have enough distance to reach the platform. That's it. You're fairly standard. Just gotta practice your aim here, you know. Uh, and then when you clear those 11 guys, you just go for a charge there to gather a little bit of the essence, and also indirectly you gain a little bit distance from that, so you end up a little further than what you were. So tank at the beginning, I like to use an explosive arrow. Possible to take down the gunner. Doesn't always work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't really matter. Just try to stay at that spot. Now, I don't know if you guys see that there's kind of like vent on the side of the tank here when you check it from backward. I like to aim exactly there because there's a way to get what I call the double hit on the tank. Is that there's two hitbox to the tank. There's the lower part of it, and there's the part with the gunner on it. So if you kind of hit in the middle of that, you technically do not necessarily exactly double the damage to the tank, but you're gonna do a little more damage to the tank, which is gonna make it it's gonna make it die faster, obviously, you know.
Yeah, and then at the same time, he's able to keep the the gunner down, so it's a huge win where you're aiming him.
Yep. So it's a win-win. So you do more damage to the tank, and also you don't have to worry about the gunner chipping away at your health. So for chopper, I'm gonna go with the advanced trap, but the advanced trap pretty much just as the what I like to call like the ghost arrow or the blind arrow shot, is that you can take a chance at 2 times during the fight to shoot an extra arrow that Ryu will aim automatically. And sometimes it will potato, and sometimes it will hit. And when it hits, it makes for a really good fight. So as soon as it starts, you ADS and then you un-ADS so that you're able to move fast enough when he goes over you. And then you keep shooting him as you get on top, dodge the missile, and actually we get a shitty pattern in that run. That's pretty insane, actually. That's PB. So I get the shitty pattern, and it seems that even with that, I kind of make the most of it. I think I almost die here, and then I'm thinking die.
Nice.
So we could not even show it. We could not show it, and you see that I'm actually yelling in the video, like I'm muted right now. But I remember saying like, "Hit him" or something like this, you know. Yeah, he was really far. I mean, that is RNG for real. It's kind of insane that I had a chopper like this and I still continued in this run. I'm not gonna lie. That's not something that's common. So technically I could not show the best strat here. But usually we'll pass under the bridge, and then you can shoot a ghost arrow manually, and then when you grab on the chest, you know, for the arrow to refill, you can do the same thing when he passes under the bridge pretty much. But the fact though that I continued with such chopper bad as this, it means that the rest of the chapter must have been fairly good for me to keep that though, because I would have never kept that. So here you can skip those guys by just wall running and recentering the camera when you're in the middle of it. If you recenter too early at the beginning of the fight, they're gonna shoot you instantly. So keep that in mind. You gotta delay it a little bit as you're wall running, and then after you can open the door. And here, same thing as last time though. You open the door and then instantly go back in so that it triggers the one on top. And then when we reach the top, we're gonna do a little wall run to the closest wall to Rio's location when you enter that room, and then you're gonna cast Inferno. And if you're lucky with their position, you're gonna get a triple here, and that will save you time. If you kill two, well, just make sure you go kill the third one as fast as possible, because you're gonna lose time. And then on the comeback, you grab the elixir of the devil away. Then you get down the same thing. What I like to do in the next part is I like to just walk, we'll say 1 or 2 steps in front, or not even, maybe 1 step, and then do an angled jump. Usually that will put you in the right distance to do a roll when you land down and then get in instantly in the room like this. The soldier can interrupt you sometimes. That's kind of RNG too. It really depends on what they want to do there, you know.
Yeah, and probably that neutral jump or that directional jump is probably better than wall running just because of the fall time, and then
Yeah.
if it's a fall, you can get hit.
So here I'm actually amazed that I did not lose that much time, I guess, with that weird chopper that I got, which means that it was a really good chapter overall. So here is, well, pretty much the same wait time that we always have to wait for. The advanced strat here, guys, is to have patience all the time, same as the beginner strat.
Yeah.
Have patience. You wait in that area, and then at some point it's gonna trigger. I did say that I like to stay around that pillar because I think that's the trigger point. As soon as it can happen, it will happen when you're near that pillar. Uh, but I guess that's up to people doing it. I've seen people going back and forth all the way down and then coming back. I personally don't think it really helps. I just think it's kind of set on a time like this, and you have to wait. So here I jump and then I roll into the door and mash X. If you don't do it right, you're gonna have to kill the bats. If you do it fast enough, you skip the animation. In the beginner's guide, we kill all the bats, and then we explain that when we come back in chapter 13 that they're not there anymore. But in this one here, well, you're just gonna see the regular strat pretty much where we don't kill them. We skip the door animation fast enough, and then after we'll kill them when we're coming back from chapter 12 into chapter 13, pretty much. So I think I'm gonna show the charge strat against the worm on this one. You'll say at the beginning you wait a fraction of a second for him to like shoot his projectile at you, and then I like to go on the left side near the water. Personal preference on the position. I like to go on the left side near the water and then just charge. I feel that there's less chance to end up in the water. The further back you go, I think the easier it is that when you release your UT, you might end up to the side of the water, and then because of a weird animation, you get pushed back, and you cannot get that extra gleaming blade at the beginning. So just for the sake of saying it, that's a perfect worm. That's
Yep.
as good as it can get. It really depends the pattern that he gives you. But in that case, if he goes for a swing after the first projectile throw, and then he doesn't go into projectile again after, you're pretty much good to go, and you can clean it like that. Another thing that is nice with that specific string is that if everything goes according to plan, you will always kill him with a ET, which also net more essence. And because you're going to be upgrading the Lunar level 3 in that chapter, it's always nice to have extra essence for elixirs and such.
Yep. And he always starts with the projectile, so you're kind of stuck waiting if he's gonna do one or he's gonna do like three.
Yeah, it really depends. And I would still advise that if he goes for a tree, so if you go for a charge and you see that he's going for another one, release instantly and then wait for the third one and you go back into a charge on the third one. It's still going to save you time. You're going to waste a little bit of time for those two extra projectile. There's nothing you can do, as Digital said. If it's the pattern that he gives you, you have to deal with it. But there's a way to make sure that you don't lose that much time. Because if you don't go into a charge after, we'll say, it's third projectile, so you don't go for AT, you wait for him to swing with the gleaming blade, well, you're going to lose that extra chunk of damage from the ET itself, and it's pretty considerable. So now we're heading to the double worm. Double worm is also huge RNG, depending on the pattern that they give you. I'm not sure if I get a really good double worm in that the last PB. We'll see, I guess. It's gonna be the same concept though. I'm gonna start dodge the projectile, go for a charge, but then it depends. Sometimes you will do the double ET hit, and you see I didn't get it here, so that's kind of good. then the other one decide to get in, and now they swap place, and now you see they kind of fucked up the timing by doing that. And that's what I'm saying, it's weird what they do sometimes. I don't get it, why, the right one went there, and then after the left one decided to go there, and then they're just going back and forth, trolling me.
Yeah,
It's
just killing time.
it's really strange. It's really strange. And here it's again more trolling, and then you see more trolling with projectile, and I'm getting super troll right now. And I do think, by the way, that depend. That's me missing my gleaming blade. I do think that depend on the direction you're in, though, when or the position you're in. That if you're too far back, you kind of force them to go into projectile. That's one thing I observe. I don't want to say that it's 100% accurate, but I do think that it makes a little bit of difference. So here I absorb the essence through the wall. If you can do it. If it's the one from the left side, you will not be able to do that. So you have to go absorb it manually, especially if you kill it with the UTET. That's a lot of money, and you cannot really pass on that amount. So we do the shortcut against the wall. That looks really nice, but it's a fairly easy shortcut to do. The one that's going to be a lot trickier to explain is going to be the one in the ice cavern when we reach it in chapter 12. But then I don't even know if I actually do it in the run. But if not, if some of you guys want to see it, if I don't do it in this run, I can always provide a link because I have a clip of it, so no worries for that. So I like to hit that part of the wall after, so I can do the tree wall jump. It's a nice movement navigation, I think. And same with hitting that wall here. If you hit it right and you keep your joystick angled towards the wall, you're always gonna land right in front of the explosive wall. So as soon as you land there, you're gonna see the button prompt, which means that you can just straight up shoot your explosive arrow, and you don't even have to ADS because of how close it is. Backtracking. Now we're going to the shop, and because in this case I think I killed a worm, I should technically have a lot of money because I killed a worm with a UT. So we're upgrading the lunar, and then after I'm buying elixir, and I actually add extra for 2, which never happens. So what I will mention here is kind of important, but further in down the line, is that if you manage, for example, to get extra one. So let's say you have enough to get your lunar to level 3. You always need that, by the way. So you need to have enough for this, and then you refill your elixir, and then you still have extra for elixir of the devil way. The place where it can be useful, it's not going to be right here, but it's going to be later after Awaken Alma on the pill bugs, where if you have those extra elixir and they're not dropping you any red, you can use them, because you're going to refill later. But it's definitely not the majority of the time. I think Digital can agree on that. You're not going to get extra elixir of the devil way a lot, I think, when you get in this chapter.
Yeah, I normally don't have enough money. So
Yeah,
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 I'm yeah.
pretty much it. So there's a shortcut here. I'm not showing it. The reason why I'm not doing this shortcut, it's not because it's that hard. Is that I think it's more for the amount of time that you save versus the amount of time that you can lose. So there's a shortcut where you can pass down to the left here and like get directly on that platform, and it's a little bit faster. But if you mess it up and you fall down, you're probably losing 30 seconds. So I think it's something like that you're gonna save maybe 3 to 5 seconds to have a chance to lose 30. So it's not really worth it in my opinion. But if people want to risk it, it's entirely up to them. So here we're doing the usual menu, and then Pazu, it's kind of RNG. So I always do the same string of move at the beginning. I jump and I go for incendiary shuriken on his head. But then after that, it really depends on what he wants to do. And in that case, because he's trying to go close range, staying melee, it kind of works out for me. Where I can stun him instantly, and then I'll go with the forward. Also, one thing that I did not mention in the beginner's guide, because I think it's more an advanced strat, if you notice that I'm doing it really fast consecutively, it's because I'm holding the joystick forward, but now there's a nuance in there if you want that makes a huge difference is that if you repress on the Y too quick when you land, you're gonna go for a non-landing. So you have to delay it like a fraction of a second while keeping holding the joystick straight so that you do it in quick succession like this and there's no pause in between. But if you're a little bit greedy on the movement and you try to go too fast, you're gonna do a non-landing basically the equivalent of the blade of the undefeatable with the dragon sword but with the lunar. And for those that don't know what that move is the quick tap Y where you get a really small animation. It's probably one of the worst move in the entire game because it has very low damage and the recovery on it is absolutely terrible. Now, this chapter, I don't know. I don't think there's much to say in terms of advanced strat for this chapter. Uh, what I can, well, what I can say, at least a tip I can give, is that so how the swimming mechanic work. It's kind of finicky sometimes. The swimming is definitely not the strong part of this game, I would say. But one thing that can help a lot along the way is when you're cutting corners. Not really here at the beginning, you don't really see it much, but when you'll be cutting corner, for example, in the underwater labyrinth or what we can call the small labyrinth, where you get the second medallion, is that if you cut the corner and you recenter your camera every time you do it with the trigger, it's gonna be a lot easier to navigate and be able to cut those corners short versus leaving the camera move freely, and kind of adapt to where you are if you want. So that's about the only thing that I would say. And then another advanced strat, but I'm not really calling that an advanced strat, is that if your swim is good enough on that part of the labyrinth, and also I have a point for that where I use as a point of reference so that if you're not sure if you did a good swim, you'll know like exactly like this as I'll explain how you can know if you have a good swim. So here, depend on how fast you cut the corner and all of that, when you're gonna come back, you're gonna have X amount of air left, and then at some point, it's unavoidable that your health will start ticking, because it's a long swim still. But if you do a right swim, okay, after grabbing the medallion, so you can also preemptively turn here a little before you grab it, so you don't have to do the whole turn around when you reach the chest, so you can preemptively twist Ryu a little bit. So around not this corner, but the next one here, when you reach that corner here where the chest is, if you turn the corner and then you start losing life like this, you got a good swim. If you started losing life before you reach that corner, you got a bad swim. And here you see I can resurface before. And the difference that will be in the next part is that if, for example, you did a good swim like this, you don't have to go for the extra great elixir that is in the next area because you can just reheal by using Inazuma on the Cyclop Wasp, and then that prevents you from going the extra chest back there, which is probably like a 5 second save or something. But if you get a bad swim, you have no choice to re-heal anyway with your great elixir, and it means that you have no choice to refill with the chest for your great elixir because you kinda need it for the swim. You technically don't need 5, but I would say it's always better to get full because if you have a troll Doku after, which he can be, you're gonna be stuck with your mini and your mini. Well, your small elixir, you kind of want to save them for later. So I don't know about you, Digital, what you think on that, but I would say that it's better, in my opinion, to go in with full Great Elixir stock.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of times where you're fighting Doku. No matter how good or comfortable you are, you can mess. There's a lot of inputs you're doing with the forward Y, and like TGD said earlier, if you're like, I don't know, fractions of seconds off with the forward direction or pushing Y or holding it, or just you land at the wrong time, he can do a lot of damage to you. So, yeah, I would say being full here is definitely preferred.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Both Doku do. They do a lot of damage with your attack, and this one particularly, it's kind of RNG because The strat with the lunar, it's pretty much digital strat. You know, he found that strat by messing around, which makes that fight a lot better. But if Doku wants to be a dick, he can pretty much block you the entire time, you know. And I think someone in my chat the other time was saying a joke that Doku was holding block during the fight. uh,
Yeah.
because he can block he can block the entire string, and he can block it multiple times in a row. So no matter, as Digital said, no matter how comfortable you think you are with that fight can still be quite bad. So having reserve of elixir is never a bad thing. I feel it's never a bad thing. And then here you cut it as close as you're comfortable with as a player. Okay, if you want to reel a little bit before, you want to wait a little more. I mean, do it to your own risk and peril. I would say. Yeah, because I've drowned here, you know, and I don't know. I think pretty much everyone at least drowned once. I would like to say.
Yeah, if you're doing the deep dive, I feel like it's like a prerequisite that you've drowned at least once in a run.
Yeah, yeah, it happened. Yeah, it did happen a couple of times to me, indeed. So definitely. Uh, so here, depend on how much health you have. You can either resurface a little later, a little earlier. It really depends. So now that we're on Doku, we'll see what kind of fight that we get. But what I like to do is I like to do that charge at the beginning to initiate a shockwave, because if he's neutral when you get to him, it's a little more annoying. You kind of have to wait for him to initially do a move, and I'm not a huge fan of that compared to when I start and he's doing the shockwave. I feel I have a lot higher chance to get him instantly in the combo. You know, so that camera was hecka weird there. Saw the clip and that.
Yeah. But yeah, you were able to get him in the corner, so that just kept him turning around over and over again. That was nice.
So that was that. You see, that was good, and I'm losing time on that chapter still. So the Doku could have potentially been a little better, I would say. Now we'll see for the next chapter how it goes. So equip the dragon sword. Then you're gonna go on the right wall here. I like to use that white patch on it to initiate the first jump, and then you need to make sure you reach enough distance to get it. Here I was actually messing around a little bit. There's sometimes, and I've noticed that there's different jump that can make you land on the platform a little bit faster instead of going for Shuriken Y, but it's too risky and unreliable, so I've kind of stopped doing it and I stick with the Shuriken Y to reach the top of the platform.
Is it like frames difference versus like just making the jump?
I think it's the height of the jump, and also it really depends, you know, on if you're rolling before you do the jump. So I was testing, and sometimes you could do just a regular jump and go for air destruction slash, you know, X, and then it would instantly land on the platform. No like animation of the Elm Splitter move, you know, with Y coming down. So you were straight up on the platform, and then you could just turn back and jump. But the problem
You're
is,
barely making it.
yeah, you're barely making it, and not only that is the problem is that if you do it at the wrong time, you're not making it. You're too
Yeah.
low, and then you have to redo the thing. So overall, it's not really worth it, because it would literally be a fraction of second from being faster if you wanted to drop down from the Elm Splitter animation after the Shuriken cancel, and it's not worth it in my opinion. But it's good to know that is there, you know, because let's say someone wanted to do a really balls to the wall type of risky strat, he could technically try to do that. It's just I think those strat, including, you know, the skip before Pazu and all of that, they're not really worth it overall, because I think if you have an insane run where everything goes according to plan, you actually don't even want to risk those, you know, because if you fail and then you're way ahead, it's going to cost you a lot of time. I think those type of shortcut would more be when you're way behind and then you want to risk it to gain time, you know. So here
Yep.
I could show it actually nice. So I did it on the first pass. Not sure I get it on the second one. So this one is kind of hard to explain. Is that depend on the angle you get in, you gotta hold your joystick. Okay, do two jump while running, and you keep your joystick in the same direction. But now this is where it gets tricky, and you kind of have to practice to get a feel of it. Is that when you do your third jump, like the last one that you saw that I then bird flip, and then after I'm landing on the platform on top, you have to make your joystick go neutral so that you will wall cling and then you're able to jump and cancel into BY. But again, it's really something that you have to practice yourself, get a feel of it. Even if I explain it here, you could try it and not get it once, or you could try it for a shot and get it. It's what I'm saying. It's really something that you gotta get a feel for it over time. And even when you get a feel for it, like I do, I still miss it, by the way. So it's very fucking easy to miss. And you want to kind of do it in the sense that you're comfortable enough so that even if you miss it, you don't waste time. Because there's a way that if you miss it, you waste time and you just wrap around the same loop, and it's actually pretty terrible. So here we're showing some of the shortcut here. I mean, I showed the previous one. Those are all tricky jump, and even I don't know if digital agree, but even if I explain specifically on how to do it, you kind of have to get a feel for it for those jump. It took me a little while, and I was failing them a lot at the beginning. Because the angling on the wall there, for example, when you're in the lava is really strange, and sometimes you might think that Ryu will not keep running on the part of the wall that switches, but then he still does it. Very hard to explain.
Yeah, so after the Jotunfrau fight, I'll explain the seesaw skip. That one's the easiest one.
Yeah, you can explain it. I don't know if I get the ice cavern one again in in this one. So here I'm doing the one that's risky, but then even knowing it, even knowing the timing, look what I said at the beginning. That guy does a lot of damage, and I got hit there, and thereafter I go for it. So you can have a timing here where you do it forward Y, forward Y, Y into X. And then there's another one where you just do the regular forward Y, Y, and that you kind of have to gauge it on, well, how fast he's coming back, and that's just something that you gauge when you're fighting it specifically. So let's see if I do get it. No, you see, I let go of the joystick neutral here and I messed it up. So that's pretty much what I was mentioning. The joystick went neutral too fast. I would have need to keep it hold towards that direction.
Yeah, so while TGG's, making his way back for the fireworm, in the seesaw room, when you enter the door, you don't have to do any movements. You just roll left, and it'll put you to the ledge there. And then you want to start wall running, and holding the direction to keep the wall running going. And then you'll jump off, and then you'll do Shuriken Y. And if you did the timing correctly with the wall run, you'll make it up there. Like, I think when I first heard about it, I told Mr. Wright, who shared it with me, I said, look, man, this looks too hard. If I could do it 10 times in a row right now, my first try, I'll add it to my route. And it was that easy. I did it 10 times in a row. So you just see, it's a really good time save. It's really easy inputs.
Yeah, it's not. No, it's definitely not too bad. Definitely not too bad. As you said, if you're in the right angle there, you will pretty much always get it. Is if you put your angle a little wrong though, you'll pretty much fall on the platform under, but then you can go back up and retry it again. So here we get the ET kill. That was a decent worm overall. Pretty much the pattern that you want to get, because this worm you cannot really charge at the beginning, because unlike the other one, he pretty much always go for his actual swipe before he goes for projectile. So now be careful when going up here. It might seem really easy, but it's easy to hit that part of the curve, and fall back down in the lava. So what I like to do is jump a little more to the right of that rock, because it's really easy to just like do a weird angle there, and then you will fall back in the lava, and you can do it multiple times in a row, and then it chips at your health nonstop.
Yeah, and it's a little slower, but you can like do the directional jump and then Shuriken Y, and you pretty much always make it. You don't even have to touch the wall.
Nah, actually, that's a good idea there too. So with that specific string here that I'm doing, you do it exactly at that speed, you pretty much always end up on the lava on the third one like this. Always. It's like this. But after though, depend on what he decides to do, it's gonna affect the rest of the fight. So in this case, I felt like it was a little bit high because he went for the call of the platform, but it ended up still being better than, for instance, a shock wave. You know, if he did a shock wave, the main problem with the shock wave here, why it's so dangerous, is that if you're at low health and he does a shock wave, you get the damage from the shock wave and then the damage from landing in the lava, and that is really bad.
Yeah, that was an amazing Smoggin.
Yeah, it was a really good one. That's why I gained too. I think Smogan saved me time. I lost a little bit there on Jotun Frau, you know, with trying those combo while he was attacking, and I didn't time it right, so we lost a little bit of time there, I think. And then we lost also probably like I would say 10 seconds for not doing the ice cavern skip after. So it's a couple of times saving here that could have happened, but the boss was good. So here, not much to say again in this chapter because until you get to Awaken Alma and the pill bugs, it's pretty much all on movement, and that is something that you have to practice. And I would honestly say that the best way to become effective at doing those parts, I didn't do it for every part. I did it in some part early game, not really here. I do this more kind of like improvisation. But I think if you want to make it as optimal as possible, is what I said, as I mentioned before, is you pretty much count exactly the amount of jump or roll jump that you need to do for each area, and then if you're able to memorize it, you can always do the same exact movement from one place to the other. But yeah, it's something that is tricky. And as much as I said that I would do it at some point, I only did it for a certain area. I didn't do it for the entire game where I really counted the exact amount of jump or roll jump that I do to get to from one place to the other, to get from A to B, as we would say. But if someone wanted to really be as optimal as possible in terms of the movement, that's pretty much what you want to do. So the bats are here, as I mentioned earlier, because we skipped them. And what I like to do here is use the 360Y move with the Lunar. Most of the time it will clear like most of them. If not, you can just go with the double X twice. That's also a fast recovery move. It's entirely, I guess, up to the person playing.
Yeah, and just to note on the movement for how long this run is, and from every point of entering a room to, like, in this case you're going to a lever, or the last one was going from one to the ladder. You want to understand how you can move and what's the most efficient way without constantly wall clinging or overrunning it or whatever, because all of that adds up
Yeah.
in every chapter throughout this whole run.
And it's a lot. As you said, I think every wall cling, no joke, is probably like a 2-3 second time loss every time you do that, because you have to wait for Ryu to get out of the wall cling and then you have to start moving again. So it's it's a lot of time that adds up if you mess out on the movement. Because this game has three part. I said it has three main aspect speed running this game. You have obviously your movement, then you have your fighting, and then you have your menuing. So being good in all those three aspects of the game is what's gonna make a run great in the end. Because if you're really strong in one of those aspects but not in the other, well, it's gonna also affect your time. So let's say you're really good at movement but your fighting is not on point, you're always gonna gain when it's time to move around, but then you're always going to lose time when you get to the fight because you're not able to clear room fast enough. And the same goes with the menu. So let's say you're really good at movement and at fighting, but you're terrible at navigating your menu to grab your item. You're also going to lose a lot of time, because you have to keep in mind that this game runs RTA and IGT, but the most important is the RTA. So if you waste a lot of time in your menu and all of that, you will probably still have a good IGT, because if I recall, I don't think the IGT goes when you're in the menu and all of that. But your RTA is gonna be affected quite a bit, and in the end, it's gonna make your run slower than someone else. So you could have a really similar RTA. The best example I can think of is the first time that I beat the world record, because I was 2 seconds ahead of Frenchie RTA, but I was actually 2 seconds behind him for IGT. So if we did not have the RTA for this one, I would have technically not got the world record the first time that I did that, you know. And then this one that you guys see here is one that I did better by 10 seconds, and then I finally got a better IGT than Frenchie. But if you'll say you're just relying on IGT, well, it's not a good thing because the RTA is what is going to be taken in consideration when submitting to the leaderboard. So that
Was there
Alma,
anything?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just anything you wanted to talk about for that one?
That's about not really in a way that so we do the flying crane. I remember the name of the move to re-knock her down, but that Alma was not that good. That was not a perfect Alma. I think no joke that I got a better Alma on the beginner's guide. I think than in this run. I'm not 100% sure, but this Alma could have been better. And I mean, the gauge to get used to re-knocking her down and all of that, that's also RNG. Sometimes she will dodge it, and then when she goes straight into her chest orb attack, that I would say, is that what you can do if she's close to the border of a zone is you can just like go into Elm Splitter as you go on landing from the flying swallow. And then if you're lucky sometimes and she just went out of the animation of the movement, you can just knock her down again. But that's kind of RNG too. And here that was actually really good pill bugs, not because of the drops, but because we got I think what three 5 kill with the lunar, or maybe two at least. So there's 5 guys per wave, and if you can group them and get them all in one lunar ultimate technique, well, not only you get a lot of money, but also you will save a lot of time because if you kill them individually, well, that's obviously not good. I think I get no drop here. Oh, I got one. Well,
Man, it's so generous on their part.
and then I grabbed the extra 2. Remember because of early when I got them in chapter 10. I talked about it. It's really rare though. You would not see that happening a lot. And here I get a bunch of Nimpo drop at the end, but it's kind of too late. And then I think my timing was a little bit off when it came to doing the Nimpo, where one time I was a little bit too early. 2 of them were not fully spawned in and they did not take damage. So pay attention to that due to when those guys are active, because it doesn't mean you see them spawn that in that specific moment they are active on the screen, you know. So even with that, I still come out behind. So that was a weird one. Now that I'm checking this PB, that was a weird one because it's a bit like a roller coaster. You know, we're a bit ahead, then we're falling behind, then we're losing time, then we're regaining obviously at the end. But I think this is the one where I get a really good Fiend Mirai too at the end, and that's pretty much where I gained that time. We'll see, but I'm pretty sure it's this one. So make sure you don't forget you don't forget that statue. By the way, after that chapter, I did it in some of my first speed run. And what will happen is you pretty much get to the core at the end, and you realize that you're missing that statue. And I mean, if you want to finish the run, it means you have to backtrack through the labyrinth all the way back to the pyramid, then grab that statue and go all the way back to the core in chapter 15. So make sure you don't forget about that statue. So here is going to be the same as what we did in the beginner's guide. It's always casting Nimpo. And then you check if you get a drop. If you get a drop of one red essence is usually really good because then you can cast an extra one. You don't have to remenu and you can get those 2 guys. Now I knew where the center was, and because I was straight on the chest, I don't know if you noticed that the chest appearing kind of pushed me back a little bit, I guess. Means I was straight on the spot where it's supposed to appear. If not, if
Yeah, and for that for that fight, real quick, they spawn in waves of 3, so he doesn't have to wait. he can just keep spamming Nimpo.
Yep. They spawn all at the same time. There's no delay or anything. So here in this run, I had the extra one where I can get the Armlet of the Sun. That's just an extra plus. Nothing that is mandatory. If you don't get it in a run, it's definitely not the end of the world. So now, obviously, because it's the advanced strat, everything done here is gonna be on landing jump. You're doing as little air destruction slash as you can. So air destruction slash is more you messed up one of your on landing jump, or you're going around a corner, you're not comfortable enough sometimes with recentering the camera, or anything of the sort where you think you're gonna get grabbed by a ghost fish. It's valid, but you want to limit those because they will obviously lose time compared to just regular on landing jump. So here I land down. If you land up, you make it up. Here you say I did one because I wasn't sure. That was just a safety net, I would say, just in case, because I could have got
Yeah,
grabbed.
yeah, I was gonna say it's still better than getting grabbed.
Yeah, pretty much. Because you lose more time when you're getting grabbed versus the air destruction slash. It's a no-brainer to do it just in case of safety. So what I like to do too in this area, I don't really mention it a lot because it's tricky to do. You must notice that I do that, is that I tilt a little bit the camera myself with my thumb while I'm moving around. But I guess some people really like to center it. It's kind of preferential here. And here I didn't even do it right. I actually wall cling and then the rest I did it right after. So there was a little bit of mistake with the movement there. And there you see I go with air destruction slash just to make sure I don't get grabbed. But yeah, I turned the camera a little bit with my thumb as I'm moving. And I mean, because I talked to that to Major Richie, I think, and he told me that he's not really comfortable doing that. So maybe it's just me that's been doing it for so long, that I'm used to it. Like I don't know if you do that yourself, but
Yeah,
I like.
I do wall runs just for consistency around those slight curves.
Okay, so you just hold your joystick and you keep wall running, and then on landing jump wall run, on landing wall run, right?
Yep.
That's a good safety strat. I guess it works. So in this one, if I recall, he does that the entire time, and I mean, I don't think it's a good representation though of Doku's pattern, to be honest, because
No, but you do recover well with it though.
yeah, but that's the best pattern he can give you. If Doku gives you that pattern of charge and then you can land every time on it, is the best one, compared to the other one where you have to wait for him to come towards you. So definitely this one's a little bit faster, but the chances, it's because the reason why I'm saying that is I don't know how many times you've seen that pattern where you always go for that charge, but I think I must have seen that maybe 4 or 5 times in my entire time of speed running. So I don't think it's something that is common to happen.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree.
So you grab this extra one here. There's one we mentioned in the Zarkin Labyrinth. We did not show where it is, but like if you really need to, we can always show where it is on picture, I guess, or whatever. There's a link to that, so it's not really hard to know where the Great Devil Elixir is. But I think on an advanced run like this, you're not gonna be grabbing that extra one in the labyrinth because you do lose, I think, 10 to 15 seconds just to go get it. Now to the core. This one is always the same thing, and I think this chapter is really affected by a couple of things. Well, first of all, how lucky you are with the Nimpo drop, obviously. So if you're really lucky with the Nimpo drop here, well, it's gonna go faster because you won't have to go back in the menu to refill. That's just logical. But then after, this chapter is pretty much affected by a couple of things, by the wave of Marbus. If because Hydrocubus can sometimes have like certain move that makes the tentacle extra resistant, and if that happen, there's nothing you can do. It's gonna take multiple flying swallow before you can kill it. Well, before you can deal him one of it. And same in a way goes with Jotunfrau in the sense that if Jotunfrau just want to keep spamming Ice Spike, you're just gonna be there watching it, and there that guy you see does not want to die. He was in the animation of the fire, even though he was dead, but did not want to die. Kind of unfortunate. But that's pretty much it. And then after, of course, the Emperor. And last time we showed it, the last two times I did it, I got a really early big skull bite, so that's kind of annoying. There's not much you can do on that either. You kind of have to adapt. And I mean, the extra Nimpo there was nice, except I was already full. So what I like to do here is as soon as it starts, I go on one side, but then I know they're gonna appear on the opposite side. So you pretty much just make your way around to make sure that you hit those dino. And same after you kill the first two. And there I got a nice Nimpo drop, which is gonna help speed this up a little bit here. So I know the last one is gonna spawn on this side. So I go straight up for it. The UT of this, and then the last pill bugs. It was a really good room, I think, overall. Very decent. And then we're trying every staircase. We're trying here to do on landing jump all the way to the top, if possible. If your timing is right, I mean you're not supposed to get hit here. And here my angle was actually good, I think, on this one compared to the other one where my angle was a little bit off. So here I still get the two, kind of lucky. Saw that I got the extra, but then that is something I never seen. He went for the early grab, and I never see this guy go for the grab to the previous floor. The one on top, yes, but this one I think is the first time I've ever seen him do that. Kind of a troll, but hey, we made the most of it because as soon as he got out of it, we went behind, charge a gleaming blade UT, and we're just ready for him.
Yeah, and just one thing to note is when he's doing these on landing jumps up those stairs, he's kind of hugging along the rail, and it's just helping keep the momentum up. But he doesn't have to be like pinpoint accurate going up the stairs, but he's still making progress, upstairs in general.
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about falling down. So if you hug the wall, it just makes it easier, as Digital said, to not necessarily angle your joystick in a very precise way. Because if you could fall down, then that would probably be the case where you would have to do that, and that would be terrible. But because there's like an invisible wall or barrier that prevents you from falling down, you can do it very easily. That was
Oh,
very strange. You
oh
saw that
no!
at the end, and then I moved, my button, but then I repressed for win fat after, I guess, by mashing the button to get out of the grab, so it pushed me back into the fish. It was a little bit unfortunate. The timing here is as soon as I saw one spawn, I know is the time to cast it because the other one spawns in, and then it's just the right timing. And if you're lucky, also here sometimes you will get both of them with the gleaming blade. It really depends. Their spawn, the positioning and all of that. So we're gonna use the same strat there that we did on the beginner's guide. We FS into Shuriken and then Elm Splitter with Y. If you do it and Ryu can target the tentacle properly, you will take them out one shot like this. Sometimes I don't know why he will target very badly on the Elm Splitter. I don't know if we're gonna see it here when they grow back. So this one he actually hit it, but then we got the tentacle that I'm talking about that's resisting because of that specific move that he did, by the way. So if you don't know why, sometimes the tentacle is super resistance, is that when he put it in a way, if you want, that's just right in front of them. I don't know what word to use, but they make it as long and far as possible in front of him. That's a specific move, and if he does that, the tentacle becomes super super tanky, and they take more FS than, well, all the other time pretty much. If you have the extra Nimpo here, make sure you use them for that wave. Don't have to really wait too much either because they all spawn at the same time. Then even if there's one left, I know that I have extra Nimpo left here. I have actually two, and then I'm gonna equip the Lunar for Frau, and we kind of just need one extra for Marbus because I always leave the chest with the Great Devil Elixir outside of that gauntlet, so I know that I will always have enough for the Emperor. That's another trick that I use actually to know that I always have enough Nimpo is by leaving that chest there. I know that I'm never gonna, not have enough Nimpo after that section. So here I might do it where I just go with the forward, then I go with the X, then forward. So I did it there, the timing that I was talking about. But it's something that you do it on the go. If you feel like you're comfortable in doing it. It's big risk though because if he hits you, you saw it earlier, he does nuclear damage, and then if you bounce against the wall in that area, because that's what tend to happen, it's even more damage. So I don't know if it's really worth risking. At the point where I am on the run is definitely worth risking though. So Marbus, not even a good Marbus at the beginning. I mean, one spawn is not great. The best Marbus it instantly goes into his dive bomb, so you don't have to worry about that. I technically probably lost easily 5 to 10 seconds there just because I waited for him to spawn that imp, and then I needed to kill that imp. So depend also. One thing I like to do here, I can't do it this time around, but one thing that I like to do is if you're facing him and you can bait, the grab, uh, you can pretty much initiate Gleaming Blade way earlier and do way more damage and kill him faster. But doing that is that you need to make sure that you're fast enough to input another Gleaming Blade after when he goes for his grab. Because if, for instance, you mess it up, well, there's two things that can happen. If you're not in front of him, and then you go for that and try to go for the double Gleaming Blade, what can happen is he'll just go flying back in the air and you'll have to finish that extra HP that he has. Or if you mess up your Gleaming Blade when he's going to grab you, he's going to grab you, and then the grab does nuclear damage. So if you're not high health and you, will say you don't have a talisman at that point, you're going to get fucked. So you need to be really careful when doing that. If you're not comfortable with it, you can just keep doing the loop combo till the end, and that's it. So here I'm menuing, equipping explosive arrow, fire wheel, and then that's it after because we have one Nimpo, so I'm not refilling the Nimpo right now. Uh, I don't think this one we get the early one. I think this one we get the good skull on Emperor 2 because I don't think I could have been able to PB if we get an early one. To be fair. So
Yeah.
we'll see what we get. Here at the beginning against that guy, the best is when he goes for that, for real. When he goes for a melee, you just gauge the side, and then after, you can usually do like multiple Gleaming Blade on his body, and then you will chip insane damage at the beginning, and it's really nice. Because there's some time at the beginning where we'll just go, for the laser like this, and you have no choice but to dodge. And also good to know is that you can always use the iframe of the ultimate technique to go through those lasers if they're moving towards you. We didn't mention that on normal, but you can do this. So here I jump forward, one jump forward, that's it, and then I will start shooting at that specific point. And then when I'm at 8 arrow, I will launch fire wheel, and then I'll wait that I'm at 2. When I'm at 2, I'll re-equip Nimpo, fire wheel, then roll jump back, charge for a gleaming blade, and then wait that the skull is really close, release it for full damage, and that's pretty much how that fight is supposed to go. And then after you will equip the other arrow, and then you pretty much shoot him until he's dead. And there, I think it's one more. So there we go. That was a very good Emperor too. And now for the end, I mean, because it's the advanced guide, we're gonna talk a little bit about advanced movement. But the Mirai fight does always the same thing, I think, because there's no special advanced strat in a way you do it. You go aggro if you want, as comfortable as you are against him, and that's, well, entirely personal, I guess, because the boss It's kind of weird sometimes. He can do really strange stuff. So last time after I grabbed the Dragon Blade, I just jumped a little bit. Instead, I'm going to jump and Elm Splitter so that I can reach the top of that platform right away. And then how that next shortcut goes is that you have one short wall run here and then two long wall run. So it's one short, two long. You want to make him do run longer on the wall. And then when you're top, you will go with Air Destruction Slash, and then you'll be able to reach the top of the platform. It saves you a little bit of time. And as for the rest, well, we're pretty much there. I'm going to do the forward X to not see Ryu do the landing animation. And then once we reach Mirai, we have the talisman at this point, so we kind of go all in YOLO, try to do a fight as good as possible. So when he charges towards you, you go straight into Gleaming Blade at the beginning. And then I could go for an extra one, another Gleaming Blade. Then I'm going for the level 4 combo with the True Dragon Sword. He's grabbing me, it's alright. And then boom.
That was a great fight.
Yeah, really good Mirai. So that's it. That's it, guys. That's for the advanced strategy. If there's anything that we did not specify that you're not sure to, just feel free to ask in the chat. And that's about it for me. If Digital has anything to say, I'm gonna let him say it. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Great run. Thanks for having me, TGD, and hopefully we get some new runners out of this and join the Discord if you guys have questions.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, dude. It was very fun to do. So I hope you guys will enjoy, and we'll catch you up next time. Peace out.